we're going to learn so much this evening, and I'm really excited about the content that I'm going to be showing to you all. Tonight I'm going to share with you advanced AdWords strategies, what's happening now as of July 2013. Because there's been lots of recent changes in Google, and I'm going to advise you of lots of those changes today. So AdWords is my favourite topic, as many of you know, and that's because it's the top marketing tool that millions of small business owners are using across the world. So it's working for millions of businesses. Because AdWords is probably the easiest, best and fastest tool for driving leads and sales fast into your business. AdWords, if it's done correctly, can bring in dozens of new customers for you over the next 12 months. I mean, obviously that's the ideal situation. And I am really, really keen to help you see how you can improve your AdWords account and really use it as a major component of your marketing strategy. So it wasn't always that way. So back in 2006, 2007, when I launched my first business, I experienced times when AdWords was costing me hundreds with making far less return. So sometimes there were times when I was struggling to even break even. So what I did was started investing some serious time and effort into mastering AdWords. I bought everything I could get my hands on, basically. So books, courses, flown over to Chicago to do courses there. So basically I've just been spending as much time as possible in trying to learn AdWords, recognizing the key that it was for the business. So I started to put it all together and came up with a formula that allowed me to set up an AdWords account, do the research, etc., all in step-by-step processes that I then used in when I was setting up the web marketing agency that I was running until I sold it last year. So since that time, back in 2012 when I sold the business, my focus now is entirely on showing small business owners how to get the best return from AdWords. So I'm going to show you how to do that today. I'm going to show you the exact steps and tips to use and everything for free in this workshop, what to focus on in AdWords, what mistakes to fix, what new features you need to be aware of, because when it starts working, you know, it really starts working. If you've got AdWords working for you, it's very powerful for your business. So when you get off this workshop, you're going to have learned a lot about AdWords, the advanced features, and how to get it working for you. Hopefully, AdWords can revolutionize your business. I mean, that's the ideal situation. Okay, so I'm going to jump in now by asking you to answer a very quick little poll where I'm going to be asking how much you're currently spending on AdWords. So I'm just going to launch that poll. Okay, and what you should now see is a little, some option boxes in front of you. If you wouldn't mind ticking whichever, well, or putting a dot in, whichever one is yours, whichever suits you. So if you're spending nothing, also put nothing, and then just put how much you're currently spending. Okay, so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Right, okay, I will close that off. Okay, so I've got 37% of you currently spending nothing on AdWords, so that might be either that you're brand new to AdWords or you've stopped spending money on AdWords because it wasn't working. 38% spending between £1 and £300 a month, 12% spending between £301 and £600, 8% of you spending between £601 and £1,500 per month, 5% of you are spending over £1,500 per month. Okay, so yeah, that was lovely. Thank you for participating in the poll. Okay, right, you can see I've got PowerPoint open because I'm going to be following a presentation. The slides will be available at the end. I'll give you the link and show you where to download the slides at the end. But I'm not actually going to go into full PowerPoint presentation mode because I need to keep jumping backwards and forwards because obviously I'm going to be showing you AdWords because that's one of the purposes of tonight's seminar. So I want to make sure that I can actually jump back and forwards between it. So basically that means I'm just going to keep it in this screen. So here's tonight's agenda. So the 5 specific issues that I identify in 99% of accounts I audit. I audit hundreds of accounts per year. You know, I'm probably doing anywhere between 30 and 40 a month, I would say, at the moment. I'm auditing a lot of accounts. And it's always the same mistakes, you know, it's always the same type of errors where people are spending money, where they're wasting money. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to overcome these errors that I find, because they're the top errors that you'll probably find are present in yours. Then I also show you an advanced keyword research strategy. So this is what I use. Okay, so this is what I use for keyword research. I don't use a keyword tool. I actually do this method most of the time. So I'm going to show you the method that I use. And then some new features. So what's working now? What do you need to be aware of? What's recently changed? Up-to-date things that obviously I want to share with you, and that's the reason why many of you have booked on today, is to learn the latest techniques in AdWords. And then there is, at the end, there's going to be the next steps for mastering AdWords and continuing your journey, and there's an offer where if you choose, you can continue your learning with me, and I'll be telling you about that further at the end. Okay, so the type of problems that people experience with AdWords, well, typically they're one of these. Generally, you tend to find that Google takes your money with poor or zero return. So in other words, you could be spending hundreds of pounds and not getting in a single lead. That's quite common, where people have launched a campaign, accepted all the default settings, and they're not sure what they've done wrong. They thought that it looked fairly easy when they set it up, and actually they were wrong. You know, it's actually far more difficult than it appears. So then the interface is also confusing and difficult to learn. So it's how you've got to jump around from tab to tab, where Google's hidden all the features. That can be really confusing as well. Also changes all the time. Well, as many of you will see, sometimes even people I taught on courses 3 or 4 years ago come back and they ask for a refresher course because they've not logged in for over a year. Totally changed. Google forces it upon you. One of the recent changes, enhanced campaigns, that was forced upon you a few days ago. So you had no choice but to enhance. So, you know, these are the problems, is keeping your knowledge up to date. And then there's no shortcuts as well, unfortunately. That's often the situation for people at home when they're trying to do it by themselves, is they can't find the shortcuts because they don't have a model to follow. Okay, so that's one of the things that we're going to be talking about later. Okay, right, so I'm just going to launch a second poll now to try and find out from you which is the most common problem that you experience. All right, so where's my poll thing gone? There it is. Right, okay, so let's launch the second one. So what's been your biggest problem with AdWords? Okay, so is it learning the interface, got banned or disapproved, constant changes, little return for investment, not making any money, or all of them? Okay, so I can see lots of you still voting. Okay, so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Right, okay, let me close the poll. Okay, so 41 of you said that it was learning the interface. 2% of you said that you got banned or disapproved. That's quite common. 9% fed up with constant changes, 28% little return for investment, and 21% said all of them. Yeah, okay, so I hear your pain. I do feel for you. Okay, so right, what we're going to do now is we're going to jump into the content, and we're going to start off with the top 5 mistakes AdWords users make, with number 1 being not matching the advert heading to the keywords. Okay, so this is very common. So I've got an example here where somebody's done a search for florists in Bristol, And what I want you to pay attention to is we've got 3 AdWords ads here in the cream box and then up to 8 down the right hand side. And every time Google's found the words that they've typed in, florist in Bristol, you can see that it's actually placed it into bold. Okay, so apologies if this is rather basic for some of you. I just want to make sure that we're all understanding the terminology. So we've got florist in Bristol is what they've searched for. Every time Google's found the words florist in Bristol, it's placed it in bold. It's as simple as that. All these 3 ads, their headings match exactly what people have typed in. Over on the right here, you can see we've got some ads that don't quite match. And it's amazing what a difference that makes. So what happens with new advertisers is they don't realize that their keywords need to match the advert. So they will have one advert for hundreds of keywords and they don't realize that that advert, how can that one advert possibly match all of those hundreds of keywords? So the first mistake I see, and this is always my number 1 big mistake that I write about in the audits, is you've not matched the advert heading to the keywords. There's just too many keywords in together. Okay, so what you need to do is write adverts to match the keywords. So you're going to end up with a far larger account than you do have currently. So for those of you who've only got 2 or 3 ad groups, you're going to find that your account needs to be far larger than that, because each ad group needs to have, in an ideal situation, just one. So that's what I normally ask people to do, or suggest people do, is it's just one keyword in an ad group so that it can have a matching advert. Okay, so I appreciate that probably sounds like quite a lot of work at this stage, but there are methods of making that far easier and faster, so templates that you can use, etc. Okay, so what actually needs to happen to correct that mistake is every keyword needs to be in the advert so that it can appear in bold, so that when somebody types something in, Google has the opportunity to place your heading, your advert, in bold. What will then happen is the click-through rate will be higher. There'll be greater relevance. It's better for users because people see that it matches exactly what they want. Better for Google because it got to be number 1 by being the most relevant. More cash for Google. Google's happy. Okay, so and if Google's happy and you're happy, you can imagine that the cost will be cheaper and that you'll be getting far better return. Okay, so number 2 is very closely linked to number 1. Okay, so I will, if you've got questions, I will be stopping shortly. I've actually put slides in to actually represent where we're going to be stopping for questions. So we will be stopping for questions throughout the presentation. So number 2, having far too many keywords all together in one ad group. Okay, so that's similar to what I've just spoken about. Okay, not realizing that the advert needed to match the keywords. If you've got too many keywords in the ad group, then you need to divide them out so that, back to number 1, each keyword can go into the advert. So this is a very common this is a very common type of keyword list that I might see. So somebody might be trying to bid for baby wear, children, parenting, baby care, all in together. But it's back to how can that one advert match all of those keywords? So what you actually need to do is make sure you place each keyword into its own ad group. Each keyword will then have a matching advert. Okay, and it's as simple as that. So there's my example there. AdWords trainings, I call that the ad group name. That's also the title of the advert. So I put that in the title, and that's the keyword. That's the single keyword that that group's about. Okay, so number 3. So we will be going into AdWords and having a look at some of these things as well shortly. So number 3. Failure to address low quality score. So quality score is one of the most important factors in an account, and it's amazing how many people don't realize it exists. So it's a score between 1 and 10, where 10 is the best, 1 is the worst, and 5 is kind of average. So 5 is your starter point. So I'm going to start off by just jumping into AdWords now, and I'm actually going to demonstrate where you can find quality score. You can see that I have got a column here that says qual score, so I don't know if you can see that. Okay, but that will not appear in most people's accounts. I'm going to show you how to turn that on. So we'd be in the Keywords tab. We'd go to Columns, Customize Columns. So columns, Keywords, Columns, Customize Columns. Quality score is under Attributes here. Okay, so if I click Attributes, qual score, yours would have an add button next to it, and you would need to add it, then scroll down and apply it, and that would mean that you'd now be able to see quality score. Okay, so and then once you've added that, okay, so that's all, you can see that's also demonstrated on that slide as well. So I'll show you how to download the slides later. So you can see that we now have an extra column which says qual score. Okay, and you can see that we've got scores of anywhere between 1 and 10, so the majority of which obviously would be fairly high in this account. So it's one of the ones I've been working on. Okay, so what is quality score? Why does it matter? Now, here is the difference that quality score makes. Okay, so 5 is the standard. In this little demonstration, or in this little diagram, your cost per click versus if it's 5. So what happens to your cost per click versus if it's just standard is shown here. So if your quality score is 6, you get a discount on every single click of 16.7%. If it's 7, a discount of 28.6%, and so on. Look at these increases, look at these discounts rather. So if your quality score is 10, you're paying half as much for every single click as when you started with your 5s. So that's the difference that it can make. So if your quality score is a 4 and it starts dropping, so this is where most people's accounts will be. So those of you who are adding that column for the very first time will right now be seeing some low quality scores of 3s and 4s, because they're the commonest that I see in accounts I audit. So we have, if it's a 3, we've got an increase of 67%. So you're paying 67% more for every single click than you need to if it was a 5. Because that's the type of differences that you can see. Okay, now quality score is a factor that is dependent on click-through rate, basically. So there's a number of factors dependent on, one of which is click-through rate and relevance. So to get your quality score up from 3s, 4s, 5s, etc., you need to follow what I've just shown you in mistakes number 1 and 2. You need to match the advert closely to every single keyword. And if all you did was that, and go back and go and write lots more adverts dependent on those keywords, then you would see big increases in quality scores. So I have people in my group, I've got a Facebook group of course attendees, and people say that they go through and they just follow the instructions, that they see quality score increases and they get 9s and 10s straight away that they've never seen in their account. So this is it can happen very fast. And if you're struggling with a low quality score keyword that you're struggling to move up, then focus on getting the click-through rate up. So ideally follow the first step, divide it out into its own ad group with a matching advert, and then keep trying to write better and better adverts. So write an advert that really stands out. If you get the click-through rate up to around about 10-15%, which is possible if it's in the top 3 with a really good advert, then you should find the quality score should update really quickly and should start going up to 9s and 10s with those type of click-through rates. Okay, so this is I'm still finding this in accounts, despite the fact that this was changed a few months back. Well, in fact, a couple of years back, I think now. So there's a type of keyword that many of you will be familiar with, called broad match. Now, a broad match keyword is where Google will match it against related keywords. So, for example, one of the things that happened to me once is I was advertising training courses. I was advertising training courses in Excel and PowerPoint, etc. And before I knew it, I'd had a click from somebody that was looking for dog training because Google decided that that was closely matched. And that was because of a broad match keyword. Now, how the two are closely related, I have no idea. You're probably wondering right now how on earth that happened. But it did happen, and that's from using normal broad match keywords. And standard broad match is very dangerous to use, and you ideally need to go through your account, look for all of the standard broad matches and replace it with something called the broad match modifier. And it looks like this. In fact, if I just type in a quick example here. So I would have plus, then the word, so plus Excel courses. That would have fixed the dog training example that I was just telling you about. And what these pluses do in front of the words is it tells Google you're not allowed free rein to go off and match it against anything you feel like. You must closely relate to Excel and closely relate to courses. Okay, so and that alone should see a big increase in click-through rate, so probably at least 1% increase, 2% increase in click-through rate, because otherwise with standard broad match what's also happening is you're being matched against a lot of irrelevant things you don't ever actually get the click for. So lots of irrelevant rubbish from people that aren't searching from what you sell. So your click-through rate will go up just by going through your account and doing nothing but put in these pluses in front. Okay, so that was normal broad match. Now the fifth mistake, the final mistake, is people not tracking their results. And this is what we call optimizing blind. And if you're not tracking your results, then you don't ever know what keywords work. So what I'm tending to find is it's quite common to be tracking email leads, that come in by an email through a contact form. But people don't realize that you can now track phone calls as well. So you've always been able to track phone calls for the last few years using software such as Infinity Tracking. So Infinity Tracking is one that I've used for a few years. But you can now, on your mobile site, you can set up a mobile conversion so that as soon as somebody clicks on the phone number on your mobile site, it generates a conversion. So it puts an action on behind the click button that generates a conversion, which is, makes a huge amount of sense when you think about it. And in order to find that conversion, if I just jump back into AdWords and show you where you would go. So we'd go to Tools and Analysis, and then Conversions. Okay, and it would be click on Conversion. So call to mobile site is what I'm going to call the conversion, and then you can see that there's now an option for call on site. So that's a fairly recent addition that lots of people don't realize is there, and then you just save and continue it. Okay, and I don't need to change anything else on that page. And then this code here, this conversion code, that needs to go onto the mobile site, but then you need to get your web designer to just put an action on the phone number so that as soon as somebody clicks it, it generates an action. So hopefully they would know how to do that. Okay, so and from then on, as soon as somebody calls from your mobile site, it will be tracking conversions. It's extremely clever, so definitely worth doing that. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go and jump into some questions. So let me go and open the question box. Okay, so if you've got any questions at this point, then do type them in. Okay, so Right then, so Ronan has said, if you are in Bristol, should you have it in your keywords, as in Bristol? So yes, it's a good idea to. You can see on the example that I was just showing you, which was a locksmith Bristol example, I tend to do a lot of keywords that mention Bristol. So locksmith Bristol, locksmiths Bristol, emergency locksmith Bristol, etc. So yes, Ronan, definitely a very good idea too. Phil has said, is using a keyword insertion ad a way around this problem? So Phil, definitely not. Again, that's one of the, maybe I need to include that in future as number 6, using dynamic keyword insertion. Dynamic keyword insertion is a way of automatically placing the keyword in the ad. And it does sound, Phil, I can see what you mean. It does sound like it should be a way around it. That's not the case. And it will actually drop your quality score. But what will also happen is if you have dynamic keyword insertion, so it automatically puts the keyword in the ad, it will also put in all the rubbish as well, which falsely increases your click-through rate, and you might think that you're doing really well. But what would have happened in the case of the dynamic keyword insertion with the dog training, you can see it would actually insert the words dog training into the ad. The only time I ever recommend using dynamic keyword insertion is I've had a couple of times when I've got people with very long lists of part numbers, like EC12345, etc. And that is, there was a case we could build for using that, Phil. So no, anything you can do which is automatic, anything you can do where you accept Google's default automation settings is to make Google money, not you. I mean, that's my take on things. Right, so Jane says, is it better to manually create these ads than to use the keyword insertion tool? Jane, definitely, yes. So you would manually create the ads the first few times you get familiar with AdWords. I do have tools that we'll be talking about later on that will create them using a spreadsheet where you can upload it in large numbers to make this process a lot faster. But Jane has also then said Google rang me up and asked why I hadn't used keyword insertion tool instead. Unfortunately, a lot of the advice that they give to new business advertisers I'm not happy with. So I've heard of a lot of people saying that they've had Google on the phone, that I've even had people who've been on the courses who then advise them to undo all the work they've done. So they listened to Google, set up a campaign following their instructions, and click-through rate halved. The modified broad match, you put the plus in the, once you get to the keyword example, because I believe that this would be beneficial for you. Okay, so let's just pick an ad group. I'm going to pick an ad group, and I'm going to show you where this type of thing's already been done. Okay. Filled space plus locksmith. Okay, so hopefully that answered that question. Jacqueline says, can you please cover broad match again quickly? So Jacqueline, broad match is when Google matches it against lots of related keywords. You can see what it thinks is related by going into the Google keyword tool. So all of those hundreds of keywords that come up if you use the Google keyword tool, all those keywords you are at risk of being matched against. And that's how irrelevant. So when you do a Google keyword tool download, you get 800 keywords, 10 of which are good and 790 of them are rubbish and you wouldn't want to be matched against. That's the danger of using broad match. You get matched against lots of irrelevant things. With a plus in front of, you're much more likely to get matched against only highly related things, Jacqueline. Okay, so Darren says, can we recap how to add the keyword score? So it was in the keywords tab, columns, customize columns, attributes, qual score, add. Okay, so you would click the add button here, then apply it. And that would add the new column to your computer. Okay, so Graham says, how long before you know that you've got reliable data when A/B split testing 2 text ads? It's normally 100 clicks, but there is a good tool you can use. So 100 clicks is what I would aim for, but I quite often use this tool, Graham, which is called splittester.com, which is, for those of you that like statistics, actually allows you to put in the number of clicks that one ad got versus the second ad, and the click-through rates of the two, and you can actually then compare them against each other. So it's definitely worth looking at. So that's splittester.com. In fact, I should be able to just send that to you. So you should have just received that in a little message. Alan says, Infinity call tracking is expensive. Do you know a cheaper option for small businesses? They used to be a fair amount cheaper, so they put their prices up. I find it harder to recommend Infinity now. You know, that is one of the reasons why I do find it harder to recommend. There is an alternative called Ad Insight that might be worth looking at. I've not used them myself, Alan, so I'm not sure if they're cheaper, but might be worth looking at. So Simon's also mentioned dynamic keyword insertion, so I've covered that. Graham Cox says, right, in terms of which ad's best, so we've answered that as part of the split testing question. Neil says, how quickly is quality score changed when you edit your AdWords ads? So Neil, it's immediate. Okay, so it would, normally, if you go and do a revamp and change your account around significantly, quality score would happen, would update really, really fast. Sometimes if you're battling lower quality scores and trying to get it up through click-through rate, it can take a little bit longer where you're struggling to get it up. You've already done the techniques I've suggested with the advert with just one keyword. Sometimes you've got no option then but to keep trying to get the click-through rate up and up and up, and then in which case it can take a fair amount longer. Okay, so how can I get higher quality score, says Tim. So Tim, you follow the instructions that I gave you on the previous slide. So you would rewrite the ads so that they're matching only one keyword, write about, try and get as many unique points about your product into the ad to try and get more clicks. I've got techniques that I teach people in my training about how to increase the click-through rate through ads. A tip that I use that I suggest people follow is try writing a question in your ad. So if you try writing a question and you're the only one asking a question, and you might write something like, looking for AdWords training, ? Or looking for a locksmith in Bristol, ? People subconsciously think yes. So writing a question can really increase your quality score as well, because your click-through rate will be higher. Okay, so Richard, we're not going to talk about remarketing today. Obviously, we've got an agenda that we're going through, so we're not talking about remarketing today, although that is covered in the course. Phil says, we've got a click-through rate of 14 to 15%, quality scores of 5, 6 and 7. What's the best way of improving the quality score? More relevant landing page. Phil, I would... Yeah, that's a more difficult one. I would, try landing pages. Might be worth, maybe if you want to message me afterwards about that, I'd be more than happy to take a look and audit the account for you if you wanted me to, and see what's happening there. Steve says, if you're national, would you use local keyword ads as well? So I do indeed quite often set up campaigns just on locksmiths, for example, or florist and florists, so just local keywords as well, so yes. Laura says, when you've got limited numbers, it may be tricky to do the keywords in the ad. So I want to sell a new PC package through AdWords, but is this too many words for the headline? Yeah, I mean, you need to get the keywords in the ad somewhere, Laura. So yeah, you do. I'm not entirely sure I 100% follow the question there, so it might be a good idea to maybe type in a bit more information. I can come back and answer it later on. Adrian says, with phone tracking, is it imperative to have a separate site? If you have a mobile version of your site, which you can buy a mobile, there are packages out there that allow you to convert your site to mobile. So I'm using one currently for $9 a month, so it's not too expensive. And because it's the mobile version of the site that you can actually put the click to call action behind. Now, it might be possible to ask your web designer if it's possible to put the conversion code just behind the phone numbers. If you've got a responsive website, I've got one of our clients who's got a responsive website that's able to do that without a mobile site, we believe. So it might not be imperative, Adrian. So Anthony says, do we use tools to generate keywords per ad group setup? Anthony, we do indeed. So I've developed a template. It's taken me several years to create, that we use to actually upload the keyword list. Rachel says, what area of the site can you change the standard broad match to add the plus? So what you would do, Rachel, is you would go and find your keyword. So let's say you wanted to change Horfield locksmith. Let's pretend it didn't already have the pluses in front of. So I'm in the keywords tab for the ad group. I would click on the keyword. Yes, I want to edit it. And can you see that? Okay, so that's what it would have started out as. Horfield locksmith plus Horfield plus locksmith. Save it. Simple as that. So will domain names that include keywords help with Google matching? Domain names, that's a question from Keith. So Keith, domain names can help click-through rate. So what can happen is if you've got a very long domain name, so my first company had a very long domain name that was about 25, 30 characters long, and I very quickly had to buy little microsites like excelcourses.co.uk, kind of like the much smaller, more relevant. So that definitely can help in AdWords from a click-through point of view, because people think it's a more relevant site. So yes, that can work. Okay, Steve said, how much effort do you put into negative keywords? So negative keywords aren't part of what we're going to be covering today, but just very briefly, to answer Steve's question, that is something that we do weekly, so we do add negative keywords weekly. Any ideas? Right, okay, so I'm looking for questions that are relevant to the topics that we've just covered, so the quality score, etc. Okay, so we'll just... Okay, so I've had notifications from people saying that I'd gone quiet. I'm not quite sure what happened. I did see a flicker saying that the audio had gone and off on again. Okay, so just reading through. Right, okay, so would you have multiple ads for the same keyword, says Gordon? Yes, always would do, because I'd be split testing ads. So you'd normally have 2 at least per ad. Per keyword set, so per ad group. Normally have 2 ad groups per 2 adverts per ad group. Tim says, how many keywords can we have in one ad group? Hundreds and thousands, Tim. I just wouldn't recommend you do it. So, back to mistake number 1. Okay, so Right, what I'm going to do is go on to the, because obviously we need to be moving on, so I'm going to move on to the next bit of the presentation. If I've not answered your question, apologies. Obviously we've got a very large number of you on the call, so do feel free to type it in again, because we will be having another question and answer session very shortly. Okay, so next thing I'm going to show you is the advanced keyword research technique. So this is what I use when taking over accounts that have already been running. So this only applies for people who've got some account data at this stage. But what you can do is you can basically, you've used Google to do the research for you. So you would mine your search query reports for new keywords. Now, what do I mean by that? Let me go and show you. Okay, so I'm just going to come out to a campaign. So I'm in this campaign here. Okay, just waiting for the screen to catch up. So campaign national mentions Bristol. And I'm going to run what's called a search query report. And a search query report is where you can see the keywords that you have actually been paying for. So these are keywords that people actually type. So if I go into keywords, I'm going to click details and all. Okay, so what I can now see is a long list of keywords that people actually typed, including their misspellings. So Nelsey is a place in Bristol. You can see we've 3 times we've actually been searched for by somebody who's typed in locksmith in Nelsey, who spelt it incorrectly with a Y. Now, to me, what I would now do is go back and see, right, is Nelsey a place outside of Bristol that I need to add as a negative keyword? Because Nelsey, if it's not in Bristol, then obviously it's not our target market, and we might be paying for clicks from somebody looking for a locksmith in London, and I'm sure the locksmith doesn't want to have to go all the way from Bristol to London for a job, because that's not going to work. Okay, so I'm just going to very quickly show that again, because I can see a couple of you saying, can you show how I did that again? Okay, so I'm going to pick a campaign. So this time I'm going to pick the campaign on the left-hand side. Okay, so I've picked the campaign name. I've gone to keywords. Then here, where it says details, and I'm then going to click all. Okay, and that shows you all of the keywords that you have actually paid for. So at this stage, I would then download, and if I click on the create button, it's now going to give me an Excel template, an Excel spreadsheet that I can use to actually see what keywords people actually typed in. Okay, so search term, this is the column that we wanted. So you can see here, these are the keywords that people actually type. So Bristol lock change. We've got a misspelling there, see that? L'Emergency Locksmith Bristol, Locksmith Redland Bristol, Cardiff Locksmith Clifton Street. So that's being matched against Cardiff, Clifton Locksmith. Obviously we're not in Cardiff, so again Cardiff now needs to be added as a negative. So this is the type of thing that I do week by week when looking through the search query report. And what you would do at this stage, I'm going to zoom in slightly just so that you can all have a better view of what I'm doing, because Excel is a little bit fiddly and hard on the eyes, as I'm sure you're aware. These keywords, what I would now do is I would take them, I put them into, as I mentioned a couple of times, I've got a template that I've developed that allows me to take the keywords, place it into the template, and I then use Excel to build all of these ad groups very quickly, actually placing these specific keywords into the advert heading. So that really, really works, and that's what I do when I take over an existing account. I run search query reports. What are people actually typing? If I've got conversions, wow, that's even better, because if I've got conversions, then I can sort by this column here. Okay, so we've got in column L here, it says conversions. Sometimes I might pick out only those that have ever resulted in a conversion. Obviously with locksmiths it's all phone calls, so but what I do with a lot of campaigns is sort by conversions. If I've had a conversion for a keyword, I then put that keyword back in. Now the benefit of this is you are building a really big keyword list of keywords nobody else will have. You will be building keywords that you need to add as negatives. So this, obviously I've already shown you that I would have added Cardiff would go in as a negative, so I would be taking that from here as well. But it means that I will then have a very, very relevant campaign. So for those of you who've been running AdWords for a while, this would definitely be one of the easiest and first steps I would take, is where have you really been spending your money? So I've had people on the course, on my courses before. I had one who was in the personal injury claims market, and when they ran this report they were horrified. I wouldn't be surprised if there's probably some of you in the background now running this report for the first time, looking at some of the data going, oh my goodness, I've spent hundreds of pounds on that keyword. Because some of the rubbish that you can be being matched for, even with it on modified broad, so you'll even find some keywords in there that you need to add as negatives, as I have here with Cardiff, for example. And I've got a couple of brand names appearing here, so I've got AKS. So even with modified broad on, you should be able to build a negative keyword list. So that, quite simply, is my suggested keyword research technique. So now, anybody got any questions about that type of keyword research? So we will have more. We've got a third question slot coming up shortly, and then a general question slot that we can answer at the end as well. So anybody got any questions about that? Okay, so Graham says, do we create new ad groups for each of these new keywords in the search query report? That's my suggested method, Graham, yes. And you might want to, if you're doing it manually without a template, you will probably want to split this process up, sort of like a few minutes or half an hour per day, because it can take you a long time. If you've got a template that allows you to do it much faster, then obviously you can save a huge amount of time there. Simon says, are the results in analytics the same? Because this is what we currently look at. Do you know, quite possibly, yes, Simon. I can't see why they wouldn't, but this data's available to you, so you may as well look at it in here, compare the two, and then why not, Simon, drop me a line and let me know if they were the same or not. So, yeah, have a look and let me know. Right, Rachel says, how long before you can run this if you're starting AdWords for the first time? You can run it every few days. Until then, if you've only just set a campaign up and only just set it live, it will tell you there's not enough data to do the report. So some of you will be trying to run this now with new AdWords campaigns and are seeing it's got not enough data at the moment. So yeah, you do need to wait. Ideally, this is something that you would schedule in to do on a weekly basis. Adam says, what kind of template are you talking about? So it's an Excel template that I've developed which allows you to input the keywords, and then it creates the adverts for you, hundreds of adverts for you, and you can then copy and paste it into the AdWords editor tool, and just makes the job a lot faster. So we can chat about that more later, Adam, if you want to. Okay, so Jane says, the problem with analytics is a lot of search phrases are not shown due to the privacy settings. Of course, yes. So the data in AdWords is much, much better. Yes, that's a very relevant point, actually, Jane. Thank you for that. So, yeah, if you're logged into your Google account, then it won't show on analytics, whereas AdWords shows you every click. So there's nothing here that says not set like you see in Google. So, yeah, brilliant point. Thank you for that, Jane. Okay, so right now, what's working now as at July 2013? So we've had a few recent changes in Google. So some of these are really brand new. Some of them are slightly older and been around for a few months, but people still haven't realized they exist yet. So to start with, your campaign by now will have been automatically enhanced whether you wanted it or not. So back to what we were saying at the beginning about Google forcing the changes on you. So you want to adjust your mobile bid modifier. What does that mean? It means that your campaigns are now showing on mobiles whether you wanted to or not. And it will have suggested a bid modifier, a percentage of the normal bid you're willing to pay, based on what other advertisers were doing in a similar situation. But it often gets it wrong. So let me show you where you can find that. So I'm going to come out to look at all the campaigns. Okay, so I've clicked on all online campaigns. Okay, let's go into campaigns. Right, then I believe that it's in the settings. So in settings, okay, I've then clicked on devices here, and you can see that I have a bid adjustment here. Now this doesn't look it, but it's actually clickable. Yeah, I've got a couple of people are commenting on the sound, saying that the sound keeps going down. I really apologise for that. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not using anything different. It's not a new microphone or anything. It's the same one I've used in previous webinars, so apologies for that. Just do let me know if you want me to go back over something, and I can always go back over it. So well, we've got the bid adjustment is how much of the standard bid you're willing to pay. So if you're normally willing to pay £1 and you have a bid adjustment of 100%, it means you're willing to pay £2, so 100% more for clicks on mobiles. So most of the time you will want this set as a negative figure. So many of you at this stage will decrease this, because mobile traffic is quite often less likely to convert for most B2B anyway. So you might want to have a decrease of 20% or maybe 30%, or maybe even 90% if you don't really want mobile traffic at all because you've not yet done your mobile site. In my case here, this one, obviously it's a campaign for a locksmith. Locksmiths in an emergency situation, so locksmiths, electricians, plumbers, all of the trades, and if you know that your type of business, they are likely to call fast because they have a pain, you know, they need it urgently, then you will want to have an increase here. Okay, so then save that. Okay, right, now I've got a message coming up saying please close any unused internet applications. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just pop off just for a few seconds and go and ask everybody in my house to stop using the internet, which I think is probably what it's doing because I think my son's on a computer game. So apologies, I'm just going to mute myself and come back just within a few seconds. Right, okay, apologies for that. So I've just realised that in future sessions I'm going to tell the kids to get off their computer games, so they're going to love me when I'm running a webinar, but I do believe that that's probably what's causing the problem, so apologies for that. There are lots of people saying they relate to the problem. Is the child alive still? Yeah, no, he'll be fine. Right, okay, so where were we? So we've got the bid adjustment here. And I was just showing you the bid adjustment. So it doesn't look clickable, but when I click it, it actually opens a little box. And you would either increase it or decrease it depending on whichever suits you and suits your business. Okay, so once you've done that, you would then save it. So if your account has been automatically enhanced, then right now, whether or not you realize it, you will have a bid adjustment in here that you need to go and look at and check if you're happy with it. So Rachel says, why is the bid adjustment not on all of the ads? It doesn't belong on the ad level. It belongs at the campaign level. So it's possible that you're not quite in the right screen there. So you can see at the top where it says all online campaigns, make sure that you're in all campaigns. then you've then gone into settings, and then you're actually setting it at the campaign level. So it's possible you might maybe not right at the right level there. Okay, so that was the mobile bid modifier, and there's lots of people complaining on Google forums about the fact that Google did this without giving you an option to do it. But I suppose they did give us fair warning they were going to enhance the campaigns. They kept warning us for several weeks and months in advance it was going to happen. So if you're too late, you let Google set it for you, do go and check. But now, once you've done that, you now need to monitor your traffic regularly, so from your different traffic sources. So let's go and look at it by the different traffic sources. So I'm going to come out to campaigns, okay, and I'm then going to segment. So campaigns, segment, device, okay. So if I go to campaigns, segment and device, if I set it for all time, just so we can get a bit more data. Okay, so this campaign, you can now see computers, 1,150 clicks, mobile devices, 2 clicks, tablets, 21 clicks. This campaign, computers, 4,116, 63, etc. So basically you go through and have a look at your own statistics. You probably want to, I tend to keep an eye on this day by day, especially once a campaign was enhanced, and especially when you've just done your mobile bid modifier that I've just shown you about. What you'll want to do is monitor the effects of that. But the best bit is this here, how you can now see the mobile devices, what's the average position for mobile. So I've got an average position of 1.4 on mobiles. On computers, it's slightly lower. So you'll want to monitor that so you can actually break your average position down by the device type. So it's definitely worth looking at that. Okay, so the search query reports, I've just shown you previously how to do a search query report. Amazing how many people aren't doing this. So monitor your search query reports on a weekly basis. You can actually set it up to email to you so that it reminds you to go in and do it. What you can also now do is create enhanced site links, and there's actually a place to put the description lines. Now, what does that mean? If you can actually hear me. So can you hear me? It's just come up with a little sign saying that you're unmuted. So can you hear me again, if you wouldn't mind typing in yes? Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, well, the kids have definitely got off the computer, so yeah, apologies for that. I'm not quite sure what's happening, but what I'll do is I'll keep an eye on it. So lots of you telling me that I'm back now, so apologies for that. Okay, so ad extensions, site link extensions. Now you can actually add an extra line of description that will be shown next to your ad. Now let me show you a site link. So I'm going to show you what it looks like. Okay, so PVC banners. These are some site links just here. Okay, so the site links go, in their case, to be honest, these aren't the best of site links. They've got a site link going to the home page, to PVC banners, to mesh banners, and to roller banners. Right, I've got, we are on a super optic Virgin 50 megabyte speed here, so I'm really surprised that it's struggling. I've got somebody saying, is it because I've got slow broadband? No, it's the fastest you can get, so I've actually got fibre optic here. Unfortunately, I will definitely be having a word with the kids at the end. Right, so the site links are the links here that go to different pages amongst the site. And very shortly, what will happen is you'll be able to get an extra line appearing next to these, and that is going to be a description line. Okay, so when you're doing site links, make sure you include this extra line of description. So if I was to go down here and click New Extension, okay, let me just show you how I would set that up. Okay, so I would go to New Site Link, link text, so let's put free delivery or free 24-hour delivery. That might, so free 24-hour delivery might work if you had an e-commerce website. Then www.mysite.com/ and you might send them to the delivery page, for example. Here in the description box, that's where you can type in an extra line that means that very shortly, so this isn't live yet, but very shortly you will be able to get these extra sentences in here in the ads. So start setting yours up now, ready for when that becomes live, because at the moment it's working in the States, but it's not working over here. So anytime soon, if you've got the description lines in, they'll start appearing. So it means you'll be able to get an edge over your competitors. Something to also show you is the fact that you can also have smaller site links. So you could have slightly shorter site links, maybe just 2 words, like 24-hour locksmith or call 24 hours, something like that. You might want to have that as a mobile site link, in which case you would click the mobile button there. Okay, and that would only be appearing on mobile phones then. Okay, so that's the other type of site link. Okay, so you can see that I've got a few here that I'm getting ready to test. So I've got one here, need locks changed fast, then call now for 30-minute response. Get a massive 20% discount, here's how. So you do need to, with the site links, you do need to send them through to different pages of the site. It used to be you could get away with sending them all to the home page or to any page. Now you actually have to set up specific pages on your site, which should be fairly easy. If you just go and copy one of your existing landing pages, then just write that page about that particular aspect of your USP. So you can see I've got one here for fast lock changes, one for the fact that we're close, one for the fact you can get a 20% discount. Okay, so they all need to go to different pages on the site. So you might have to set up new pages for that on the site. Okay, so that was these 2 types of site links. So which keywords are contributing to sales? So this is one of the ones that I really like. Looking at. So okay, so what I'm going to do is show you an example of keywords. Okay, so you can actually see conversions that are being generated along the keyword pathway. So the keyword pathway might be, one of the examples I teach people is you wouldn't want to start bidding on something like digital cameras because it's too high up in the search pathway. People haven't decided what digital camera they want yet. You're far better off coming in later on and actually bidding on some of the later phrases, such as the particular make and model of camera, so a Nikon 1510 camera, for example, something like that. Now what you can actually do is you can add in new columns that mean you can see if a keyword contributed to a later cell. So it means that maybe digital cameras is in fact still leading to sales. So we would go to columns, customize columns. We would go to search funnels. Okay, so that's columns, customize columns, search funnels, and you would then add in click assisted conversions and impression assisted conversions. So this is quite advanced stuff for people with, who are going to be spending probably the larger spends amongst you. This would be more relevant information. So you would add those two and then apply it. And what you should now be able to see is the fact that, okay, let's go and have a look for some keywords where we can see this information. In fact, I'm going to need to do that again. So I needed to do that at the keyword level. So I already had it showing at the column level, at the campaign level. I'm going to add it at the keyword level as well. So search funnels, I want click assisted conversions, impression assisted conversions. Okay, and then what you should be able to see is some data that tells you that even though you might have had 83 conversions here for a keyword, 89 people, so what does click assisted conversions mean? It means that they clicked it but then converted elsewhere on a different keyword. So you can see for this keyword we had 83 direct conversions but then 89 click assisted conversions, which means it helped elsewhere with a different keyword, so a longer tail keyword. So it means you can now see, is bidding on digital cameras leading to sales later on? Okay, and impression assisted conversions means they saw the ad but they didn't click it straight away. So it means they had an impression, they saw the ad but then later on they bought under a different keyword. Okay, so some really, really useful data that you can get into there. Okay. Right, so the next one to show you, I so love this one, is the insights to keep an eye on competitor behavior. So which competitors are bidding against you and do their keywords match up with yours? I mean, this is just amazing. I love this. Okay, so now what we want to do is go, I'm in campaigns. Okay, I'm going to go to details. So in the campaigns tab, details, all. Okay, so here is a list of all of the locksmith competitors that are currently bidding against us. I mean, this information is fascinating. So you can see here, mylocksmithbristol.co.uk has an impression share of 40.83%, so that means they're showing 40% of the time. They've got an average position of 2.7. They overlap with my keywords by 43%. The position above rate, now I think that means how often they were above us. It does indeed, yeah, so 22% of the time they were above us and 75% they were at the top of the page. needalocksmith.com, okay, so you can start to see, compare each of your competitors. The overlap rate is very interesting, and I'd be looking for ones where there's an overlap rate of quite high. You would ideally, your overlap rate will start getting lower compared to theirs, because of course you're going to be getting more keywords by following the techniques I've shown you today. So you will then end up with a lower overlap rate, ideally around about the less than 50% mark. So we've had somebody says, could I just show how to go into that again? So yes, I will do. Okay, so we go into, okay, so I was in campaigns, details. You see something called auction insights, and all. Okay, so that is absolutely fascinating information, and I really hope that you can make some use of that. So it is very, very interesting. Oops, I jumped back into a different account. Okay. Right, is the sound holding up again for you now? I've not had any notifications, so I've been muting. Everybody hear me okay? Yeah, brilliant. Lovely. Okay, and then I've got a little screenshot there showing the auction insights. So I've just shown you the live one. Okay, so any questions on what we've just covered? So Steve says, should we be aiming for less than 50% overlap rate? Ideally, yes, Steve. You want less overlap rate because it means you've got keywords that they've not thought of. So yes. So any questions? Just have a look back through. Rachel says, does adding click-assisted conversions and impressions increase your costs? Not in any way, no. It just shows you extra data so that you can make a better decision as to whether to pull the keywords, because sometimes keywords are higher up in the keyword pathway, i.e. it's a keyword that people use when they're still at the research stage, and in which case it doesn't cost you any, well, it just means that you can make an informed decision about whether that keyword is actually definitely worth bidding on. Okay, so Adam says it's got very high overlap rate with one site, ask.com. Well, that's an interesting one. Not entirely sure why that is. Might be that some of the keywords that you've got are the same as theirs. So, yeah, that's an interesting one. Not entirely sure about that, but it does depend what industry you're in. So do feel free to message me afterwards and I can have a look. What happens if you have a message saying this keyword isn't eligible to show your ads because few people search for it on Google? So this will happen to you a fair amount because you're going to be entering such specific long tail keywords, in which case it's not doing any harm to have it in there, but it does mean that as soon as people do start searching for it, it will start triggering. So it's not going to do any harm. I would leave it in there. Okay. Right then. Okay, so by now you've learned to avoid the 5 fatal errors that I spot in most AdWords accounts that most business owners are making, advanced keyword research techniques from the search query report to double your click-through rate and conversion rate, and what you must be focusing on in your AdWords account today. So, with your permission, I'm just going to share briefly with you the next level before I then move on to a further question and answer session, and I'll also give you access to get the slides as well. So, some of you will be aware that a couple of months back I launched a training system which was called Red Hot Web Leads, and it's an online education and support system. There are 38 videos in there currently, most of which are very short videos, so they're between 2 and 5 minutes long, most of them. So you can go through them in about half a day. We're then running weekly group calls that I run, and I record those and upload them in case you can't actually make the live call. All of the processes that I developed while creating my agency and over the past several years, and instruction both on video and manuals. And then, of course, lifetime updates so that you don't actually get left out, so that you don't not know what Google's doing. So here's what it gives you. So it gives you exactly what keywords to bid upon. So I show you the keyword pathway that I've spoken about a couple of times that allows you to get inside which keywords result in buyers and which don't, or which won't. So that's really important. Some of the keywords you're bidding on might not be relevant, and how to pick those keywords, okay? Stealing your competitors' keywords. So another shortcut to setting up accounts is how to use competitor research tools, see what they're bidding on, and then use the template to create your own account based on the keywords that they're using. How to track your results, how to set up conversion tracking, so that you can track the leads and sales. Tools to build the hundreds of ad groups fast. So we've got a tool that's available to all of our members that is the Excel template, and I include a video along with it that shows you how to use it to build hundreds of ad groups very quickly. And it allows you to make it very fast to set up an account. It's the main tool that you use, and it means that I give you processes, etc. So it means you can actually bring down the time that you're spending on your AdWords account. Most of the time under half an hour to an hour a week. So which keywords are bringing in sales so that you can put the bidding up on those keywords. Processes for setting up campaigns and week by week. Creating amazing adverts. Setting up adverts for mobile phones and iPads. Setting up adverts that only run on mobile phones, so the number of characters is smaller. How to monitor the difference. Shutting competitors out so they don't click your ads. Keep up to date with all the latest AdWords changes and all the new features, and networking with like-minded people. Right, excuse me, I've got a cough. Let's have some water a minute. Right, apologies for that. Okay, so the system has got 38 videos in it, which are the exact same content as the face-to-face courses that I've been running for the last several years, that I charge, well, it's $3.95 per day, so $7.90 plus VAT for people to come on. Okay, we've also then, for members of Red Hot Web Leads, they also get a private strategy call and audits as well, so that you can get your account audited, what do you need to fix, etc. And so that's included free. Now this one, this is the first time I've tested giving this away. I'm finding that lots of you are still having questions, so what I'm going to do is, for the first 8 people who buy Red Hot Web Leads tonight, I'm going to give them my personal Skype contact, so that if they want questions answered, they just email me, or just message me rather, and I'll answer it. So here's what you get. You get 38 videos, all the manuals, all the support materials, private setup call, weekly group coaching every week. Okay, so every week there is a group call. The Facebook support group, regular updates to keep your system up to date, the Excel templates to get your AdWords account set up in minutes, and then the first 8 people get my private Skype as well. So let me just type that in there for you, okay, because I will also show you on this page as well as where you'll be able to get the slides shortly. Okay, so it's £197 plus VAT, which gives you access to all of that, and then you can remain a member as long as you like, or as short a time as you like. So you can cancel at any time, so there's no tie-in. And at that point you would just stop having access to the group calls and to the Facebook group, etc. So at any point you wanted to cancel, then you can. Right, we backed it with a 90-day guarantee, which is, if you're unhappy with any aspect of the course, having tested it, then let us know and we'll give you all of your money back that you've paid for the 90 days. Okay, so I really hope that you've enjoyed the session. So I'm going to be answering more questions now. Excuse me, I've got a cough. So for the first 8 to buy, I look forward to chatting with you by Skype, and I'm going to answer questions now. So if you want any other questions on this or AdWords, then do feel free to type them in. Jacqueline says, drink more water, Claire, we can wait. Yeah, it's gone all hot and stuffy in here. Okay. Darren, you're welcome. Okay, so Andy says, where's the discount applied for the quality score? It will be in your, so your bid price means that will, whatever you bid, it just means that you'll either appear higher up the page or lower down the page. So it just means if you were willing to bid £3 for a click, if your quality score was 3, that might only get you at the bottom of the front page. If your quality score was 10, you might get to the top of the page for that. So it's how much you pay per click, so that's where the discount's applied. Excuse me. Jane, I'm glad you enjoyed it. So Steve says, am I using Facebook as well? I am indeed. Yes, I'm obviously all forms of pay-per-click I love, so I do indeed. Right, Keith, you're welcome, and it'll be lovely to speak with you next week. Jag, I'm glad you enjoyed it. So Jag's one of our clients and is enjoying Red Hot Web Leads, I believe. Chris says, in your opinion, is it worth doing the Google certification exam for AdWords? It's a bit like when you study for GCSE maths. You don't really need all the theory behind it. So you'll find yourself learning lots of irrelevant facts, like the sizes of the images and things like that. But it is, it will teach you a lot about things and features that you weren't aware of. So, and especially somebody also said earlier, if I was setting up as an AdWords consultant, would this work? Absolutely, yes, it would. And people would expect you to, they would strongly expect you to have a certification. So yes, it would help. Rachel says, are LinkedIn ads comparable? Rachel, they're so much more expensive, and you can't track conversion tracking yet. It's probably still worth watching, keeping an eye on, running some tests myself, but to be honest, it's unlikely they're going to rival Google anytime soon. Oh, Graham, excellent. Yeah, fantastic. I will see you in the Facebook group later then, so it's fantastic. So Abdul says, when's your next face-to-face course? Abdul, I have my courses are listed on my training website, which is helpwithppc.com. What I've said to people before, if you want to come on the face-to-face courses as well, buy Red Hot Web Leads and I'll let you come on the face-to-face courses for free, and this stands for all of you. If you buy the online course but you still want to come on a face-to-face course, then it will cost you the same. So instead of paying $790 for the 2 days, Abdul, you'd only pay the $197. Okay, so it goes for everybody. Jag says, do I use Bing or Yahoo? A very small amount, to be honest, not a huge amount. Anthony says, do I have the links for the slides? Yep, they are on that page that I sent you. Let me just go and open the page and I will show you where it is. So in that link that I just sent you, the slides are at the bottom. So, okay, so if we scroll to the bottom, okay, see that? Okay, so I'll pop the link at the bottom there. Okay, so scroll to the bottom, right click, save link as, and it downloads the Adobe PDF. Okay, so that's how to get the slides. Jane, glad you enjoyed it. Anthony says, as well as keywords having a quality score, do accounts have a quality score? How long would it typically take for a newbie to have acquired some history? Accounts do indeed have a quality score, so the rumour goes. So indeed. It's a rumour. You can't see the account quality score, Anthony, but indeed it's supposed to have. And how long it would take you to have the history? Again, I really don't know that information. It's more of it's one of those urban myths that we talk about on the forums, that there's supposed to be an account quality score, but we've seen no evidence of it. So unfortunately, I have no more information than that. Glad you enjoyed it, Belinda. Chantal says, can we purchase the template without the rest of the course? Chantal, the template alone, the amount of time that it took to develop it and the amount of time it would save, means that if I was to charge for the template, I would charge more than the cost of the course. I have lots of people in the course who the main reason they bought it was they wanted the template. I can't and don't sell it separately, and it comes with the video, which is coming as part of Red Hot Web Leads, and you do need the video to be able to follow it because it is a fairly complex template. So apologies, but it would be 197 plus VAT is the cost. Okay, so Kirsty says, can you say that about the slides again? The slides are on the page, which let me send you again. Okay, so that link there, the slides are at the bottom where it says Advanced AdWords Strategies. Right click, save link as, and then just save it wherever you want it. Right. Right. Chantal, yep, that'd be great. So Chantal says she's going to talk to her boss. Yeah, no problem. Ronan, good night. Okay, so Anthony. Anthony, that's obviously that's a fairly complex question here about AdWords editor that is probably best if I have got, let me go and send you all a link to, because I've got a Facebook group which is some of you will be a member of, and it might be better, I think I'm going to need longer to answer that question. So if any of you want to come and join the Facebook group, I've just sent you a link to the Facebook group as well, because I believe that question is going to take some thinking about, so I can't do it off the top of my head, so apologies for that. Okay, so I will add you all shortly. Graham says, do you cover the display network? Graham, I don't cover the display network at the moment. Probably will be adding something about it later on, with the exception of remarketing. So remarketing at the moment is the only bit of the display network that I find works for small businesses. That's not to say that it can't work for larger companies, but it is, for 99% of the time, the display network is very hard to make work, and I'm not in the I'm not in the game of ever testing out, playing with hundreds or thousands of my clients' money to try and get it working. So I've never tested it to any serious degree. So no, not the display network, except remarketing. Okay. Mark says, can you show where to find the percentage of clicks compared to competitors again? Indeed. So if I go to right, okay, so we go to, in the campaigns tab, we go to details all. Okay, so let me just show you that again. Oh, right, jumped me out. Don't you just love the Google interface? Tell you what, I get loads of problems with Facebook crashing non-stop at the moment. Has anybody else been having that with Facebook, where it just keeps crashing? And I don't know what's going on with it, but it's been happening for the past few days, both in Chrome and Firefox. It's really frustrating. Okay, so in campaigns, details all, and that's where it shows you your competitors and where they're bidding against you and the percentage the overlap they've got with you. Okay, so Steve says on the ad group that you use 3 different matches. Is this for every ad word? So for every ad group, Steve, I do indeed suggest that people include the 3 different match types. Obviously, we didn't go into match types today because obviously we were time limited. But yes, I do indeed. That's how far I break it down, and that's what I use the template for. So yes, indeed. Okay, Caroline says, why is google.co.uk a competitor of yours? That's a very good question. I only just spotted that. Do you know, I have no idea. That's one of those things I'm going to ask on my forums and see if anybody else has ever wondered that exact same thing. So yes, Caroline, well spotted. Adrian, yes. Adrian says you can also get to the insights via keywords as well. So yes, you can break it down to different levels as well. Hopefully using some of the tools today that you hadn't even realised existed, you know, such as these buttons here, and hopefully you'll start to realise that you know, there's lots of options hiding behind these that are actually really useful options. So do feel free to use them. Okay, glad you enjoyed it, Stuart. Jacqueline, yes, if you want to join the course later, absolutely. So more than happy to save it for you for tomorrow. Or if you need to talk to colleagues, etc., then message me. So any questions at all, then let me just give you an email address. We've got, if any of you are in Ireland or elsewhere in the EU, then send me your EU VAT number to that email address, and I can send you a link that means you don't have to pay the VAT on it. So just send me your EU VAT number and I can do that. Excuse me. Phil, fantastic. I'll chat to you tomorrow. Yep. Thanks, Lee. Glad you enjoyed it. Belinda, fantastic. I'll see you in the Facebook group, and then I'll look forward to having our first audit and session when we have a chance to have our first call. Jacinda says, where can I find the previous webinar? I don't make previous webinars available as recordings for people. I have got some of them recorded, which is in the Red Hot Web Leads platform for members, though. So I do quite often record it for training purposes, because obviously we've covered a lot of new ground today. Rachel, you can indeed view the videos multiple times, and if you want to show it to colleagues as well, indeed, that's not a problem. Jacqueline says, take a walk to get rid of that cough. Yeah, bless you. Jason, it is, although what we've been doing today is fairly advanced, the course has got videos that take you right from newbie all the way to advanced. So yes, it is, you know, it would take you all the way. Adrian, enjoy your beer. Cheers. I think I'll be going to have a glass of wine in a minute, unless you can think of anything better that would help my throat. Maybe water, maybe wine, maybe a glass of wine. Right, okay, speak to you soon then, Jason, and yep, look forward to hearing from you, Gary. Right, okay, I'll try that then, Adam. Hot whiskey the Irish way. Yeah, I'll try that then, Rachel. I don't know if we've got any whiskey in the house, to be honest. I know we've got wine. We can always rely on having wine in the fridge. Mel, there's nothing special that you would need to run AdWords campaigns. And yeah, and apologies if there were quite well, which there were a few sound issues. So serious apologies for that. You won't need anything special to run it on Magento, as long as it's got a landing page that you can use. Nothing special. Any type of website would be absolutely fine. So no, you'll be fine. Gavin, fantastic. Okay, so I look forward to chatting with you on our calls and over Skype. Gordon says, started the first AdWords campaign on the 18th of July, so yeah, a couple of weeks ago. I now have 15 clicks and 1,246 impressions. Well, that does seem, what click-through rate is that? So let's do 1246 divided by 15. So what click-through rate is it telling you? So it's, yeah, that's a very low click-through rate. Yeah, so I would be working on that to try and get that click-through rate up. If you want me to do an audit of your account, more than happy to do so. Let me just send you the link so you can request an audit and I can actually take a look. Okay, so if you want to request an audit, then I've just sent you the link so that I can actually audit the account. Yeah, 1.2% says Gavin, says Gordon. Yeah, it's very difficult to tell just on a click-through rate. 1.2% isn't the worst I've seen. It's not particularly bad, but it could be far better. So if you want me to give specific advice, I would need to audit the account. So just pop over to that link and request an audit. Jag says, do you do webinars on SEO stuff as well? Jag, I do indeed. I've got one planned for the 15th of August for the course that you're a member of. And I will be, well, basically I'm doing a lot of new videos on a lot of new SEO techniques where I've been getting sites ranked on the front page as we've been chatting about, Jag, but then lots of the advanced techniques behind it, many of which I will be talking about on the webinar. So I'm doing that specifically for names and Register 365 customers on the 15th of August, but I will open that out to my list as well if they did want to book on. Adam, yep, glad you enjoyed it, and I'll look forward to speaking with you soon. You're welcome, Jag. Glad you enjoyed it, Simon. Bye, Abdul. Glad you enjoyed it. Okay, any other questions that I haven't yet answered? If I've not yet answered your question because I missed it, because obviously I was getting a lot of people typing in messages, so I might have missed some, then do feel free to type in your question again. Bye, Anthony. Bye, Darren. Bye, Graham. Yep, lots of people typing in goodbyes. Glad you enjoyed it. Anthony, glad you found that useful. So Andy's there saying the competitor overlap was really useful. Glad you enjoyed it, Johnny. Glad you enjoyed it, Paul. Okay, so If you've got any more questions, I think we'll end it there. Any more questions, then I look forward to seeing you in the Facebook group that I sent you the link for. So let me just send that link to you again. And if you wanted an audit, then I sent you the link to request the audit as well. Okay, so here's this one. Okay, and I look forward to chatting with you on Facebook, auditing your account if you want me to take a look at it and offer any advice. And to those of you who have joined Red Hot Web Leads, welcome on board. And I will speak to you all very soon. Okay, so bye for now.